Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into NB12, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, Parliament opens with the traditional fanfare as the Governor General gives the speech from the throne. We've got team coverage. The northern and central Bahamas should prepare for possible flooding starting tonight. We've got those stories and so much more coming up. I'm Paige McCartney, and NB12 starts right now. Once again to NB12. The government today laying out its legislative agenda and plans for governance over the next 5 years. At the opening of Parliament, hundreds of Bahamians flooded the streets despite the rain as parliamentarians, senators, government officials, and supporters swore their oaths of office and listened intently to the speech from the throne. We've got team coverage of the opening of Parliament, starting with Christina McNeil.
Twin priorities taking center stage in the government speech from the throne, read in Parliament Square this morning. Concerns over crime and the economy are nothing new, taking precedence in the Progressive Liberal Party's election campaign. Now in government, this administration has pledged to tackle both issues with an aggressive 100-day plan.
Firstly, the need to reduce violence and crime and build a safer Bahamas. Secondly, but in tandem with the fight against crime, is the need to build a stronger economy that generates jobs, deepens and broadens Bahamian ownership, and produces a higher standard of living for all Bahamians.
Reading the speech from the throne, Governor General His Excellency Sir Arthur Folkes explained that government will also implement a full range of programs, legislative proposals, and policy initiatives during its tenure, as outlined by the PLP's Charter for Governance. It's a document that was much touted during the run-up to the May 7th general election, setting out the party's plans for the country. Well, it's been 16 days since Prime Minister Perry Christie and his party won the election, and since then, government says 2 of its promised action items have already been implemented. However, the looming issues affecting crime and the economy remain. According to the speech, government will immediately reinstate and expand the urban renewal program that was a trademark of the last Christie administration. Government also plans to introduce a national crime management agenda incorporating effective prevention, detection, prosecution, and rehabilitation, while also reintroducing a witness protection program and school-based policing. But according to the speech, government will also take a closer look at law enforcement.
My government will move for the repeal of all provisions of the Police Act which are unconstitutional or attempt to politicize the police force or undermine the impartiality and security of tenure of the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner of Police.
Homeowners also getting special attention in the speech from the throne, as government says it will address the plight of those in financial distress, while also lowering taxes that affect potential homeowners.
My government will therefore work with the clearing banks and other institutional lenders to develop a financially sustainable mortgage relief program aimed at assisting distressed homeowners in saving their homes from foreclosure. My government, in an effort to stimulate the real estate market, will also make good on its commitment to lower the maximum rate of stamp duty on land sales from 12% to 10%, and will also reintroduce a maximum cap on real property tax.
This administration also aims to create a better quality of living for Bahamians by tackling poverty.
In an effort to reduce poverty, promote human capital development, and improve the effectiveness and efficiency of social assistance programs, my government will move speedily to undertake social safety net reform.
From tourism to education, tax reform, and housing solutions, the plan outlined in the speech from the throne was well received by those listening intently in Parliament Square.
It was with that the speech from the throne laid out government's plans to address the urgent tasks at hand while pledging to address the overwhelming challenges that lie ahead. Meanwhile, our Veronique Toot caught up with former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram for an exclusive interview as he left the House of Assembly for what he says is his last time there.
If you blinked, you would have missed him. Immediately after being sworn in this morning, Member of Parliament for North Abaca, Hubert Ingram, quickly exited the House of Assembly and drove here to his law office on Cable Beach. He sat down for an exclusive and quite candid interview with NB12. Though he chose not to stay in Parliament Square for the reading of the speech from the throne, Mr. Ingram did read the 24-page document. Quite frankly, he says, it does not contain anything revolutionary. However, he says there are a number of plans that he considers quite doable and that he will support.
I thought, for instance, that the commentary they made on the mortgage relief program was a sensible and doable proposition, similar to what we had proposed while we were in office and had been having discussions with the banks on. It is quite different from what they promoted to the public of Bahamas, which was a thoughtless, undoable proposition. But what they put forward today is workable.
For instance, he says the government's plan to develop a financially sustainable mortgage relief plan would assist Bahamians who have consistently paid their mortgage in the past, but are currently unable to do so because they have fallen on hard times. The former Prime Minister says prior to the May 7th general election, his government held formal discussions with the central bank and other lending institutions to provide assistance to homeowners facing foreclosure. While he supports the PLP's plan for mortgage relief, Mr. Ingram dismissed the government's stance on the issuing of contracts during a certain period as absolute nonsense. The government announced plans to enact legislation that would prevent it from entering into contracts of employment or the related payment of public monies between the time Parliament is dissolved and a general election.
So that's nonsense, and the only government would be bound by that would be their government, because the next government that comes in after they were left would be able to change the law as they did. That is absolute nonsense. And also inconsistent with their past practice when they were in office the last time. This must be a new epiphany that they have undergone, because when they came to office in May of 2007, people were showing up to work who had been issued letters on the 2nd of May and the 3rd of May, in fact the day after election.
The speech from the throne says nothing about the Bahamas Telecommunications Company, which was privatized last year. Shortly after the government sold 51% of BTC's shares to Cable and Wireless Communications, the PLP vowed to get the majority stake in BTC back under Bahamian ownership and to push for a commission of inquiry. Mr. Ingram says he welcomes such an inquiry. However,
the reality is, that many of the things that we did in office are irreversible. Never mind the talk.
He also responded to PLP Chairman Bradley Roberts' claim that the Christie administration met a budget deficit of around $500 million and that criminal charges could be filed after an investigation into the Ingram administration's management of public funds.
It is wonderful to look at the facts and say, okay, fine. How are these deficits created? What deficits did the PLP have while they were in office when things were supposedly so good? And what did they do with the money? What deficits did the F&M have while they were in office? And what did the F&M do with their money? I invite you, go around, touch, see, feel, and compare.
The former Prime Minister says there is a huge difference between talking and doing. He says he plans to watch to see if the PLP actually delivers on its many promises.
Officials expected that so many people would have shown up to this morning's ceremony that they set up hundreds of extra chairs to the rear of the ceremony. And those who did not make it under their tents gathered behind barricades along Bay Street. The crowd began gathering hours before this morning's ceremony. Some sightseers said they camped out from 6:30 this morning, and police say they were prepared for the large crowds. Assistant Commissioner of Police Leon Bathel says police enlisted the help of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force to beef up security in the area.
We were planning for the opening of Parliament before elections, long before the election was announced. So we are well prepared. And we just went to another level of our planning after election.
Among the crowds were avid supporters of both major political parties, with police also keeping a close eye on any possible clashes. A small contingent of F&M supporters that included Carl Bethel and Renzel Roll were also among the spectators.
I hoping to see the 9 F&M would won their seat on the opposition side. I here to support my party.
Today was a day for all Bahamians, and we wanted to show that the F&M is still alive and kicking, that despite the fact that on election day we weren't successful, that we're still a party together. We're still a party that the Bahamian people could depend on. And we're still a party who are looking forward in the next 5 years to be in this very same square, taking care of the people's business.
A sea of yellow shirts was also visible as scores of PLP supporters cheered during the ceremony.
This is a historic day for all Bahamians and stuff, nationwide. I'm very happy that we are government, and it's about time that we make some changes in the Bahamas and stuff and get the young people back on their jobs, get some work for the nation, and some try to get some of the crime down as well.
It's very important to me because it's an historical day in my life and my children and my grandchildren. And I'm happy that the PLP will be running the House for the next 5 years and get the country back in order.
In addition to the politically inclined, today's ceremony also drew visitors from Grand Bahama and the United States.
I'm happy to be here and happy that the government have changed and we are ready for a change.
This is just my first time. I wanted to see what it's all about. I would normally watch it on TV, but this is the first time that I get to see it up close. So I'm really proud.
Well, I think it's pretty exciting. We don't get to see our government in America very often because they're far from where we live, so this is pretty exciting for the people of the Bahamas.
How did you find out this was happening?
We were on the beach yesterday getting our daughter's hair braided, and we heard some of the locals talking, kind of arguing back and forth about the government change. So we came down to the straw market, and they told us it was going on, so we thought we'd come and check it out.
We just saw limousines, and we heard that the parliament was changing, and we wanted to see what was different, and the outfits are awesome.
And fashion was also the topic of the day as many amongst the crowd brought out their very best outfits. Our Nakia DeVoe has the story in this next report.
That's right, Jasmine. Despite the wet and windy start to the opening of Parliament, colorful garments and vibrant fashion lined the red carpet. From pretty pinks to brilliant blues, the colors of spring managed to brighten a very gloomy day here in Nassau.
Oh man, look here. You know, Bahamian ladies could dress. My fellow Bahamians say always dress 100%, and today it's 150%.
Well, honey, these women are off the chain, as the young folks always say.
And they were right. Invited guests at this morning's grand event outdid themselves in designer two-piece suits, dresses of all lengths, matching shoes, gloves, and pinstripes. There were couples in matching outfits and even men hoping to make fashion statements.
I'm a, outgoing person, and I don't want my personality to seem plain, so, I just thought the pink could just pop out, it's fuchsia pink, and who's going to wear this loud color, so that's just me. It's just my personality.
The color combination was just trying to make a statement that, we're here, but, we represent the new generation the same way. So it's just like a new generation of styling, just trying our best to step up.
It's a three-piece ensemble, as you know, in the men fashion arena. Three-piece back in date in the fashion arena in men's styles. So you're bringing it all back? I'm bringing it back.
But everyone was waiting to see what the dignitaries and their spouses were donning as they strut down the red carpet to their seats. And while the umbrellas were out, they were overpowered by the bright colors. Spectators and special guests cheered as the parade of parliamentarians arrived. It was no surprise that the men were sporting morning coats and traditional suits. As expected, Lady Bernadette Christie was a crowd pleaser in aqua and blue. So was Dame Marguerite, who also wore aqua today. Wife of opposition leader Dr. Hubert was pretty in pink in a layered dress with a hat to match. And the wives of State Minister for Finance Michael Halkitis and Speaker of the House Dr. Kendall Major strayed from the traditional solid colors clad in floral dresses. But while vibrant colors dominated this morning's events, there were also classic white and black pieces.
And I'm wearing a Nicole Miller today and a Prada hat and shoes. Jackie Kennedy is one of my icons, and I chose to emulate her Bahamian style.
And of course, there were their hats, which have become a staple of such grand occasions. From his seat on the throne, the Governor General had the best view of the sea of hats in many shapes, sizes, and colors.
It represents the Bahamas, seeing that, we become now a bright nation. And so, we have to go, you see all the flowers in this hat. It represents all the achievements, what I'm looking for my Bahamian folks.
Comes down from the British and being very royal and very exquisite at a big function like this, the opening of Parliament. We want to represent the Bahamian people very well and show that we know how to do it in style, grand style that is.
And there were many fascinators as well, but as usual, hats stole the show. Mrs. Anna Marie Davis, wife of Deputy Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis, pulled out all the stops with a large fuchsia hat complete with blue accents and several dimensions. Leslie Miller, daughter of Tall Pines MP Leslie Miller, was also turning heads in her teal side hat. But arguably the biggest showstopper was wife of Reverend William Thompson in a long gown and elaborate hat. This afternoon, Betty Thompson told us the story behind her vibrant and extravagant outfit.
It was something I have took a picture from a museum in Orlando, Florida. This is Abraham Lincoln's wife outfit, and it was in the museum, and I took a picture of it and had my designer, Miss Kathy Pinder, to design my outfit.
Now, did the colors, were Mrs. Lincoln's colors exactly like this, or you chose the colors?
No, I chose the color.
And why the bright color?
Just to brighten up the sunshine, to know that we are still in the sunshine of the Bahamas, and God is still good and faithful to us.
So while today's speech from the throne was expected, many of the outfits were not. And whether it was a good or bad one, nearly all of those who attended this morning's opening of Parliament made a fashion statement. Reporting for NB12, I'm Nakia DeVoe.